Chair Powell signaling that the central bank may be near the end of their tightening cycle. For more on the Fed and its impact on the markets, let's bring in Howard Lutnick, CEO and chairman of Cantor Fitzgerald and BGC Partners and chairman of the Newmark Group as well. Howard, great to have you here on set. I don't want to just talk about the Fed decision, but I want to talk about it in light of what we're seeing continue in the regional banks, and that's just turmoil and a lack of faith there. PacWest is down almost 50% on reports that it's evaluating strategic options. TD backed out of the First Horizon deal, so we're seeing First Horizon tumble a lot. What's your take on what the Fed has done and how that impacts, if at all, what we're seeing in regional banks in terms of the crisis?
All right, well, let's start with the big picture, which is $1 trillion came out of the regional banking system, right? Went into money funds, went into treasuries, and went into the big four, right? $1 trillion, you know what that is? That's putting your hand on the neck of the lenders, right? They're all lending less. I think that's 100 basis point equivalent to 100 basis point interest rate hike. So of course the Fed's done. Of course they're done. They're not pausing. They are done because we're actually 100 basis points higher. It's not a rate hike, right? You hike rates so that I'll borrow less. You'll borrow less.
Are we 100 points too high?
I think we're 50 basis points high.
Too high.
Higher than they thought they would be. Now,
why they still raise then, Howard? Why they?
That was just showing off. You know, I said I would. I'll do the least I
Conviction
can. I take out the words that say I'm going to cut, and I'm going to raise any more.
You don't think it's a big mistake? You don't think it's a big mistake that backfires and they have to cut?
They're not going to cut so fast. This concept. The market's already saying.
If it hits the fan, they might.
The market says 3 cuts this year. 3 cuts this year. Really? You think they raised yesterday and they're going to cut this year? Here's my call. Stays the same. Remember, if the money's come out of the banking system, raising rates doesn't change it as much, cutting rates doesn't change as much. They're just going to stay steady Eddie. I think the Treasury market is too low, right? I think the dollar is too high.
You mean the yields are too low in the Treasury?
Yeah, come on. What do you think? The 2-year note is calling for like 6 cuts. Come on, they're not going to cut. Imagine these are central bankers or like this, right? You think they're saying, "Oh, sorry, I was wrong."
If you're right in terms of the 100 basis point cut, hike, equivalent that credit tightening is going to do, then they might have to. They're not. If they came out yesterday and said we're going to hike 125 basis points over the next 3 months, right?
What a disaster that would be.
What is that? Right, exactly. But you're saying that that's what the end result is going to be. And so if that is the end result ultimately, maybe they do have to pivot. Maybe the markets have got it right in terms of 4% Fed funds by January 24.
But here's the problem. If they cut, it's not going to have the same juice, right? What's happened is the string got really loose, right? So when you push that string and nothing happens, right, the hike isn't that big a deal because they just took $1 trillion out of the banking system. But the cut, is that really going to motivate that $1 trillion? It's not going back in the banking system if they cut. So what's happened is the juice of the Fed is weaker than people think, and therefore they're probably not going to show that they're weaker. They're likely to do nothing. Is there a banking crisis still ongoing, in your view? Is it a problem? I mean, PacWest. How can it not be a problem? I mean, look.
Well, there are a lot of people who say it's not a problem.
Whoever's in front of you.
Jamie Dimon said it's contained.
Okay.
Jay Powell said it's contained.
All right, come
They're
on.
pretty smart people.
The guy who makes my suits says suits look good. He doesn't. He's not going to talk about everyone's working at home and no one's buying suits, right? People, if you ask any banker now, they say banking's fine except for what? Who's calling PacWest to make a loan today?
You ever
answer? Nobody.
You ever have a real estate guy say, "God, things are really going to be bad soon"? They never say. That's always, "Oh my God, it's a great." It's always a seller and buyer's market somehow.
So you have good things. Look,
Howard, 50 basis points too high. Does that mean the recession is worse than we're anticipating now?
If there's a recession, and it seems reasonably resilient, the market, if there's a recession, it's got a higher rate in it, not officially. Right? That's why the dollar will do badly. Imagine the central bank's going to raise rates today. They're going to raise rates again. They're going to raise rates again. They have 3 hikes coming. We're not raising rates anymore. So the dollar is going to be weaker. Right?
Do you see oil today? I mean, what's that saying?
I think the world is weaker. Of course it's weaker. But the fact is, so now here's an example. Real estate businesses. Right? Everyone was assuming the rates were going to keep getting hiked. Yeah. They're done. So all of a sudden you have what should have taken us till January to stop raising hikes. Guess when it stopped? Yesterday. So Newmark's world, right? These brokered worlds, they start to heal and get better starting when? Yesterday. It's a miracle for them, right? And next year, capital markets, you're going to start seeing buildings start to sell again and things start to work.
How about inflation? We should be able to tame it if we're 125 basis points higher.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's going to work. Yeah?
Much better. Look, it did it for the Fed. It did it for the Fed.
Okay. It's a nice suit. What does the guy tell you that it is nice?
They're still making suits
He's
just fine.
He's not lying.
Everybody says nice things.
So you have a suit maker.
Well, he's got to take it in because I got big up here in my belly. I got to make it work,
Get from places where they make it for a lot of people and they have their name on it.
Mine just fixes it up for me like yours does too. You buy a suit in the store and they take it in here and let it out there.
They don't take it in here.
Howard, it's great to see you, and it is a nice suit. Howard Lutnick.